we're back working on the Chevelle, and we really need to start getting some paint on this thing. So my goal here for today is I want to get some paint on inside of the fenders, inside of the door, door hole, and the inside of the door hinges and all of that, and also the hood, so that we can then put all of that back on a car and have some overspray here on the outside, so that we can then spray the whole car in one go. So that's the plan. And scuffing this and doing some small work here to the doors shouldn't take that much time, so we should be able to paint this fairly quickly, and then we can see how much time we have for other stuff. So I'm gonna go over here on the inside and sand this with a little more finer sandpaper. If I was smart, I should have put some primer on this area when I painted this stuff, but apparently I didn't do that, so that's what it is. So yeah, I'm gonna fix some of that, gonna put some seam sealer on the inside of the doors and some small stuff, but then we can paint this. And I was hoping to be able to do this outside today, because that would be a lot easier and I could continue working with other stuff. But unfortunately, it's really shitty weather here today, and it's supposed to be like this all week. It's gonna rain a lot tomorrow, and yeah, I have to do some other stuff. I really want to keep working on this, but I need to get this thing done. I hate that this always is in my garage. I can't take it outside because it's gonna get surface rust. So really need to get some paint on this. So yeah, I'm not gonna talk much more about it. I'm gonna change over to my working clothes and start working on the stuff we're gonna paint. It's such a mess in here today, but guess we have to just work with that since we can't be outside and we have a lot of big parts. I'm not sure how I'm gonna put all of this up so I can paint it, but we'll have to manage somehow. But the plan right now is I'm gonna take some what do you call those, sanding, I don't know, what the hell do you call these? I'm not sure, but these soft pads, and go over here on the inside. Then we're gonna take some seam sealer here on the inside of the doors. This door has been very badly rust repaired in the sometime in the past. So we have a really bad repair here and some sort of angle iron under here. So it doesn't look good, but we're not gonna bother. So we're just gonna take some seam sealer so it looks as good as possible. And yeah, just go around, make some light sanding, go over here. And I'm gonna sand this down with like 180 or something to make it look a little bit better. I'm feeling like everything takes so much time, so I rather just make it simple now, paint it, and if I can't live with it, if it looks horrible, yeah, we can go back, just mask up this area and paint just that. There were just those things that we can't live with, because I'm running out of energy for this project. So yeah, just gonna go over this, sand a little bit here. Not sure if we can get some seam sealer there in the front. Do the same on the other side. I'm gonna try and mask as little as possible, just because I don't want to mask right now. So I will probably take my smallest paint gun, hold up some cardboard like this so I can paint, and walk with it like this, so we don't have to mask so much. And yeah, hopefully get some paint on this. So I'm gonna start scuffing a little bit, and we can do some seam sealer so that can cure a little bit before we paint. I scuffed up the doors. I realized that I forgot to sand here, but I did it on the other side. And these doors, they're not perfect. This is a lot better than the other one, but I just want some seam sealer here to make the edges look a little bit better. So yeah, I think it's gonna be good. It doesn't need to be perfect. I mean, this car was never supposed to be saved anyway. And I feel like I could put down, if I wanted to fix this, it would take like 2 days to fix this door, and it doesn't gonna make me any more happy or make me enjoy this car anymore. So I think this is gonna be good enough for this car. Something like that. Also, I don't usually use white sealer, but apparently I bought the wrong tube, so white it is. I prefer black, especially since we're painting this black, but it's not gonna matter too much. So something like that. I think that's gonna look a lot better than how it was before. So I'm gonna do some finishing touches here, and then I think we're about ready to get some paint on this thing. So now I've sanded and seam sealed everything. I made some small stuff like there on the B pillar and some other small stuff, but I think we're done for painting. And the sun was coming through here within the clouds for a little bit, but now I'm a little bit worried, but I think we're gonna paint outside anyway, and it will be good enough. If we get some small water drops in the paint, it's not going to be any big problem, since it will be inside of the hood and these areas and inside here, so it won't be that bad. But hopefully it won't rain, because this would be a hell of a lot easier than painting it here inside. So that's the plan. I'm gonna go ahead and mix some paint, and the plan right now is I'm going to use this is my smallest paint gun I have. Usually I just fill it with thinner, so that I can use it as a pressure washer, and clean the paint gun I'm most often using. But I think this is going to be good. It will be small enough to get in the crooks and crannies, and we won't spray too much when we have these small areas, and we hopefully won't get as much overspray. So that's the plan. I'm going to go ahead and mix some paint, and then we can paint this. Here we have everything painted as much as I wanted to paint it. And I made 2 errors that we're gonna look at, but those are based mostly on the car. And anyway, what we have here looks really good. Of course, something has landed over there, but the insides look good, the hood looks good. The hood was always very rust pitted here in the front. I mean, what are we gonna do? We can't do much about it. Here in the rear, it looks a lot better. If you can't live with that, you have to change the hood anyway. So I think this is gonna look good enough for this car. So everything out here I'm 100% satisfied with. The problem, or the stupid thing, stupid, I don't know. I'm not a painter. I just paint stuff in my garage. So what I did was I thinned out the paint, because I thought I would need that for my small paint gun, but obviously it worked too good, because I got a lot of I can't remember the word right now, but the paint started to run away over here. So this is a really hard area to sand and polish. So we might probably end up scuffing this down, and then when we're painting the whole car, we can just paint that, then we close the door, and then we paint the rest of the car, because there's probably not any reason to wet sand this and do that, because it's going to take more time than to just sand it down and paint it again. And I got some other places where we got some of that because of the too thin paint, but I mean, I'm learning. But other than that, it looks really good, I would say. And we're gonna talk a little bit about this quarter, but looks good over here on this B pillar. I didn't do the same problem, because I realized what happened over there, so I was a bit more cautious over here. The thing is, I said I did 2 problems. The first one was I made the paint too thin, and number 2 was I made too thick of coats, because you want to get done. And yeah, that's stupid of me. I know that you're supposed to do multiple thin coats, but yeah, as I said, you want to get done. But anyway, this looks really good. And the thing I did here on the rear quarter was just that I sprayed on the last that was in this paint gun, just because I wanted to see, get some feeling of how the quarter looked. But of course, I don't know why I did this, but I got way too much paint on it. I just painted, and yeah, this is gonna be a pain in the ass to sand down these. But yeah, it is what it is. But anyway, the quarter looks decent. We're gonna put some sandable primer on it also, so I think it's gonna look good enough. But anyway, the parts that I wanted to get paint on are painted. We will have to sand this down a bit and put some filler on it, sandable primer I mean. And yeah, we have a bunch more to do, but tomorrow we can put these parts back on the car. And I'm considering if I should paint the front clip separate from the rest of the car, because painting a whole car in one go is a lot of work and it's easy to miss places. And if we can just paint the front clip, then we can mask that off and then paint the rest of the car. That would make it a bit easier, and also it would be nice to see the front end in paint. So we'll see. But I'm gonna let this dry for a bit and then we'll see what we're gonna do. So I've been going around cleaning up stuff here in my backyard. But one thing I want to do before we end here today is I want to paint the inside of the fenders. And I could do it with the spray gun paint we used, but you get so thin coats. So I thought we might as well use some thicker brush paint to get the thick coat here on the inside. You're not going to see it anyway, but it looks nice when it's black, and it doesn't need to be shiny black. So I'm gonna paint with that paint a little bit here on the inside, and then we can see if we have time to do any more else. So now we got some paint here on the inside of the fenders, or I mean, I call this the inside of the fenders, but the inside, whatever you want to call it. This is gonna get a little more satin flat texture to it. But yeah, that will be all for those today. So as I said earlier, my plan right now is tomorrow I'm gonna bolt them onto the car and adjust everything, and hopefully by the end of tomorrow I'm gonna paint the whole front clip, and then I can put on the front bumper and assemble some stuff so that the front end is done. That will inspire me a little more, because it is hard to do all of this paint work. I'm not really motivated, but if I can paint this, get some stuff together, feel that the front end is done, then it will be easier to just do the rear of the car. Also, it will be a lot easier to just paint this and just paint that. If I could, it would be really nice if I can paint the roof in one section, but since we don't have any good place to make a stop, we can't do that. So anyway, it will be easier to paint only the rear half, and we can focus a little bit more. It's very easy to get spots where you don't get paint, and if we paint the hood and then we paint the roof, we have dry, or what do you call it, dry spots that when the paint flies over the hood, and it doesn't look great. It's very hard to paint a whole car by yourself in one go. So that's the plan. But we're gonna go ahead and continue tomorrow, and hopefully by the end of tomorrow we'll have paint on the front end. We're back. It's Wednesday morning, and the goal for today is I want to get the front clip on the car again, which won't be any big problems except getting the hood on, but we're gonna solve it somehow. And when we have that on, we're gonna sand everything and then paint the front end, and hopefully that will turn out okay. And then we can feel that we're done with the front end. We can put some stuff together, and then we can just mask it and paint the rest of the car. So that is my goal for today anyway. So yeah, I have all the shims here bolted in the places they were, so that I would remember. So hopefully we can just put the fenders back on without any issues. So yeah, not much more to talk about. I'm gonna start bolting stuff back on. We got the fenders on, and it's nice having it look like a car again. Unfortunately, I forgot to paint the hood hinges yesterday, so I'm rattle cannon them right now, which obviously have to dry for a while. So I thought that we might as well start sanding here on the fenders. So I'm gonna see if I'm gonna try 120 or 180 grit. I should go 180, but that's also really slow. But we'll see how it turns out and what we end up using. Now we have sanded the top side of the fenders, which actually was a little bit easier when we don't have the hood, and we can sand a little more like this. But now comes the project of getting the hood on here. So I'm gonna put on the hood hinges and see how we can solve this. So I put down some of my welding blankets here to try and protect everything. I put on some gloves here for when I'm sliding down the hood, because if it's gonna get scratched anywhere, it's here on the inside of the hood. But also it is just the inside of the hood. We haven't painted the fender, so whatever damage we do, we can fix. But I'm alone. This is the only way to do it, at least here inside the garage. Outside we could use a forklift or something, but I don't think it's gonna be a big problem. So I'm gonna go ahead and get the hood and see how this turns out. So that didn't come out as easy as I hoped. If I would have started with this bolt instead of that bolt, we would never have had all the issues. That bolt is a bolt that when I looked at it, I saw that I cut it, but I hadn't radius it, or what you want to call it, so that it would go into the threads easier. So that's why we got all the problems, and I lost the hood and everything. But it is in its place. Got a little bit of a scratch here. You're not gonna think about it. I could touch it up with some paint, so it's not the end of the world. Sometimes it's easy and sometimes it's not. But I'm gonna see if I took my little screwdriver here and tried to scratch some marks in the hood hinge to remember where the hood was. So I'm gonna try and put it up according to that, see if it still fits. I mean, we have removed the fenders and put it back on. Maybe it doesn't fit anymore, but I'm gonna try that and see how it looks. So the hood doesn't fit as good as it did before. On the passenger side, it's fairly good, but here on the driver's side, we can see that the hood needs to come forward a bit. And I gotta say that I think that I've put the fender a little more forward than it was before, because I wanted to widen the door gap to not make the door hit the fender when you open the door. But I mean, the hood hinge is in the fender, so if you push the fender forward, the hood should go forward. But there's so much adjustment on these cars, so I was prepared for this. So I'm gonna try and see if I can push this forward. I might push the fender in a little bit, but I'm not gonna overdo it. It will be what it's going to be. But I'm gonna try and see if I can pull it forward here a little bit. Now we have the hood where I want it. I had to adjust it 2 times to get it to where I thought was good enough. And I mean, we could get some tighter gaps, but I don't think the gaps were tighter originally either. So this is definitely good enough. And now, if we pop the hood, it looks really nice with the painted inside of the fenders and the hood. And now this is so incredibly dirty, so it's easy to forget that the frame is all painted, the firewall is painted. So when we get to cleaning this, when we're done with the paint work, this will look really, really good. So for now we can close here, and I'm gonna go ahead and do a lot of sanding for a few hours, and hopefully by the end of today we will be able to get some paint on the front end. But I will be back to you when I have sanded everything. So now I have sanded all of the front stuff with 120 on that one, and maybe that's a little bit overkill, but to get that little extra possibility for it to blend out a little better with all the bodywork we have done, I wanted to do that. Now I'm going to go over this with some finer grit sandpaper on the what is called orbital sander. But there are some small stuff I have found, and it's what I said earlier, it's very hard to see on a bare metal body where all of the damages are. So there obviously is a low point here, which is probably the worst thing I found. So that should be filled. Also, it's a little bit low there and a little bit low here. Those are not super bad. Someone has closed the hood sometime with something on the air cleaner. They're not terrible. I took my knife and just pushed them down a little bit like this, and it felt a lot better. Of course, maybe it will be too bad, but I'm not sure. Also, there's a small dent here I missed and a small dent here I missed. Other than that, I think it's pretty good. So I'm gonna think a little bit here. I think I have to take some body filler in some of these, but I'm really not in the mood because I feel I have been done with this project for so long now, and I just want to get paint on this thing, and I'm powering through, but I'm really out of energy for this project. But I really don't want to put it to the side because then I'm never gonna fix it. So I just need to get paint on this thing, which we're very close to, so I need to power through. But yeah, I'm gonna think a little bit which of these I'm gonna fix and which ones I'm gonna just leave. So this is the route I took. I filled in that. I didn't fill those. I fixed this little dent and this little dent. And I'm not sure, is this gonna look super good? I don't know, but for now I just need to get some paint on this. I'm so tired of this. If it looks horrible, yeah, we can do some finishing touches and just go with another coat of black. We will find definitely all of our issues. I'm kind of regretting going black, but it's a good color to see stuff. And since I'm going to sell this thing, black is a color that everyone can appreciate, so that's why I went with black. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead, mask this, and then we can spray it and see how it turns out. So I have everything cleaned up, masked off, and we're ready to go. And if you're thinking that this will be a mess, this is a catastrophe to paint in here with all the dust and everything, and I couldn't agree more, but it is what I can do right now, and I really feel that I just need to get some paint on this. I just have to feel that I'm getting forward, because I am going to lose it with this project otherwise. I need to get some paint on it. If it's terrible, yeah, we can sand it down, fix some small stuff, and maybe we can do this to the whole car, and then we can sand it down and do one coat over the whole car or something. I don't care. I just want to get some paint here on front end, and that's what we're gonna do here right now. Sprayed the first batch of paint, and to be honest, it looks pretty bad. I know I have some issues with water in my air compressor, which I have always had problems with it, but it hadn't showed like this. I'm not sure if it's that or just a lot of dust in the air, but there are some small bubbles that I think might be water related. I don't know, I need to get a proper water filter anyway. So we need to look at that, but besides that, the overall dent-wise and bodywork looks good. And now I didn't put any thinner in the paint because I wanted a thick coat. Now I'm gonna go make another batch of paint that I'm gonna thin out a bit, and hopefully that will smooth out a little more, and maybe we can save some of these imperfections and make it good enough. Worst case, we have a very good base, so that maybe we paint the rest of the car, then we can just sand it down with some 320, maybe fix some small stuff, and then we just make a light coat over the whole car. That will be a lot easier than painting when everything is primed and bonded and everything. So I'm going to go ahead and make another batch of paint and see if we can get it at least some smoother surface. So I cleaned the paint gun and everything, and this is the final result. And I think
probably at your angle right now, it looks decent, but there is something I believe it's water droplets that this is. So I really need to work on an air filter. I have never had any problems. I mean, I painted this rear quarter with the same stuff, and it doesn't have any of those bubbles or what you want to call them, and this is full of them. So I'm not sure. I have always unscrewed the bottom plug in the air compressor to make water come out there. Also, I have this little small inline water filter, but obviously those two isn't enough. So tonight I'm gonna go ahead and look around for a proper water filter for the air, so that we hopefully won't get this issue in the future. But if we look past that, you can see that, I mean, you can see my face pretty easy. So if we look past the whatever it is, the surface is good enough, I would say, or I would call this good enough. And could we wet sand this and polish it, and maybe it would look good enough? Probably, but I think it will probably be faster just to take this down with some 320 or 500 grit sandpaper and just lay another coat on it. I think that is going to be easier in the long run, especially since we have more painting to do. I really hope that I would be able to paint this and it will be good and I could move forward, but obviously that didn't really happen here today. But you learn something new every day, and I learned that I need to get a better air or water filter for the air. But that's life. You learn by doing, or at least I learn by doing. So that's where we're gonna leave it for today. We're gonna see what we're gonna do about it tomorrow, but I don't have any more time. So yeah, we'll keep struggling tomorrow. We're back, and today we need to address this problem that we made yesterday. So I have done a bunch of research about water in your air compressor and how to avoid it. And I have realized why it worked better when I had my air compressor in my container I had outside of my garage. I have moved that now, so now I couldn't have it in the container, so it is sitting in here. So after research, I understand why it worked better before than it does now. So obviously, the hotter the air compressor gets, the more water it is getting into the air. And the water is such a fine mist when it comes out of the compressor. So putting an air filter here, it has a hard time capturing all the water because it's such a fine mist. And then it goes through the hose, and my hose is now a lot shorter. And obviously the only thing I had was a little air filter over there, and that didn't do all the work. But before I had a longer hose. So apparently when you have a longer hose, the air has a time to cool down, and the water mist has a chance to build the droplets, and the droplets are easier to catch by the water filtration. So what we're gonna do now is I forgot that I had this. So this we're gonna put directly on the air compressor in hopes that it gets something. Then I'm gonna put on this. So this is going to hopefully let the air cool down a bit and make the water into bigger droplets. Then I have bought this, which is exactly the same as that one. And also this one I'm gonna add to that. So we have 3 air filters. So hopefully that will catch something, it will cool down, make it into bigger droplets, which the filter over here can take. Then I'm gonna attach my regular hose to that and hopefully solve the problem. I don't know, but in the future, when I get my air compressor out of here to a cooler place and less of a dusty place also, it's a catastrophe having it in here, I know, but it is what I can do right now. But yeah, we'll see if it becomes any better. So my plan right now is I'm gonna take this down with some 320 or 500 grit. I realized that there are some, it's really hard to see for you, but there are some sanding scratches from the orbital sander. And my problem is that I need to thin out my sandable primer, because
the sandable primer, when I paint it, it gets this very rough structure. And when it has a rough structure, I go and sand it with a too often abrasive sandpaper so that we leave a lot of scratches, which I then have to take with the orbital sander. So I take a very rough sandpaper for that. And yeah, if I just could lay the primer a little bit smoother, I could go on it with finer grit sandpapers and not get bored by sanding with that. So yeah, we can just do a better job. But we have a really good starting point right now. So I'm gonna try 500 if that's enough, or if that works. Otherwise I will go to 320. That will be enough. And then we can try and spray this again. So I'm sanding this down for like 2 hours with some 500 grit sandpaper. And if we look at it like this will probably come out better than what it would have come out if we didn't have the water problem with the last paint, because I had some more material on it. I sanded it with nicer paper and everything. So I think it's gonna look good. We have these small shiny dots, which are the small indentations from the water droplets. I can't do everything. We have to set the bar somewhere, and this will be good enough. I think besides the water droplets in the last paint, I think it looked good enough. And yeah, so I think it's gonna look decent. And I mean, we still have this dusty environment. I have these hooks you see here in the roof because I have some tarps I have hung and before when I painted, and I feel that even when I take it to my extreme, making it as good as possible, the result is minorly better. So I think this is gonna look good enough. And I mean, I have dusty clothes, there's a dusty garage and everything, but I think it's gonna look good. As I said, it looked good enough before except the water thing. So this is gonna be perfect. So I'm gonna go ahead and mix some paint. And also I made this arrangement. We have one water separator there and these two here. Right, wrong, I don't know. But first when I tried to use the air, it came out a lot of water and I was like, what the hell, why isn't this working? But after a while it stopped. So I think that it was just so much water in this hose from yesterday, so it just took a while before it to come out. So hopefully we don't get the same issue as yesterday. I believe we won't. So I'm gonna go ahead, mix some paint, and yeah, see if we can make this any better. So this is how it turned out. And I'm gonna say, it's not perfect, but it is definitely better than it was yesterday. Now, dust is the main issue, and I mean, yeah, I knew that, that's totally on me. But we don't have these water droplets, and the dust that we have in it is a lot smaller than the dots that we have before. So I think that this, if it is, I mean, it's a garage paint job by me, it is good enough, but maybe in a few days we can try and buff this and polish it a little bit, and maybe we can get some of this stuff out. But from a few feet it looks really nice. And I mean, if we think about how bad these fenders were, and the hood had a large dent over there, large dent there, and overall it has some dents, I think it looks really, really good. And I mean, it's only me in my garage with my own car. I can set the bar wherever I want. So I think this is going to be good enough. We'll see if we can improve a little bit. And obviously I have to, what am I gonna say? Make something about the dust problem. The thing is, I just wanna get some progress on the car and not feel that I have to fix the whole car, then sanitize my garage and then paint it. So we'll see how we do, but it will be good enough for now. So I'm gonna leave it there, and yeah, we can say we'll leave it there, and we can continue in the next video. So I hope you enjoyed the progress of my front clip here. It didn't turn out exactly as good as I wanted it, but I would call it good enough. So we'll see if we can improve it. But we have the rest of the car, so I might I might feel that I'm done here for now and paint the rest of the car, and if the rest of the car turns out amazing, maybe we can readdress the front lip, but for now it's painted anyway. So yeah, gonna leave it there. Hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next video.